Okay, this is a real simple video on how to add validation and why you would want to add validation. This script just does three things. It goes to the JBoss DVD store example and it logs in. You can see it logging in here. And then it attempts to get a list of prior orders. And we can see what actually happens here is you get logged in, and then when you click on the My Orders, instead of getting the orders, you get this debug page. Now, if this page were, say, page 3 in a 4 or 5 page script, when we attempted to navigate to the next page, we would fail to find a link here and we'd get a navigation failed. And so we'd get an error even without adding validation. But in this case, this is the last page in a script, so we need to add some validation here to make sure we got what we wanted. Let's play it first and see what happens without validation. Okay, you'll notice there's no errors on this page, and there's no errors indicated here. Everything's green, 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 because that last page, even though it contains error text, actually comes through. If we go and we look at the HTML for that page, it comes through with a 302, which is a valid. It's not an error. It's basically coming through with a valid page. It's what's known as pretty printing. It's giving you a page without indicating that there was an error to the web server, and the web client is just displaying it on the page. And if we look, obviously, if you look at the screenshot, you can see there's an issue there. So we need to go looking for this text, this JBoss seam debug page, and if we see that, we need to flag this as an error for monitoring purposes. So I'll just go to the third step and I'll say add validation. Now, validation comes in two flavors. You can add required text, which is text you want to see, or error text, which is text you don't want to see. So we'll choose that one with the red X on it, the add error text. And then we'll go down here and we'll type the text, which is JBoss seam debug page. And we'll leave the regular expression unchecked. We don't need the power of that here, but if we wanted to have substitution in here or be able to have one of the words change, you could use regular expressions to have a more powerful string. In this case, a simple static string is all we need. Let's go ahead and save that. And now let's play it. Okay, now we can see we actually, when that last page happens, we do get error 99101, which is the error page. The page has an error by virtue of the validation. And that's what we want to have happen. So we'd go from getting green dots on our reports in MyKeynote to getting red, which would be more likely to trigger an alarm and get people working on the problem. Okay, so just to recap, what we had was what's known as a pretty printed error page, an error page that comes back as having a valid header in it, doesn't look like an error page to a web server or a client or a measuring tool, but indeed is something that a human would clearly see as an error. So we added error text. We looked for the JBoss seam debug page as a text we don't want to see on the page, and when we got that, we indeed threw an error. You'll notice the pink here, and we saw the red on the MyKeynote dashboard.